Hey folks, I wanted to talk about a very important safety feature on these old cars. This is a 1953 Chrysler, and your brakes are the most important thing on this car. Not how good it looks, or how smooth the engine is, or how amazing it looks. More important than all that is your brakes. These are cool old cars. Everybody that has one is not always totally well versed in maintenance, and they, maybe aren't comfortable getting into the brakes. But the brakes are very important on these cars because these cars are heavy and they don't have the best braking system. But if you look after them properly and know what to look for, you can prevent a major catastrophe. You'll hear about people's brakes failing. There's things that you can do to look for problems that are going to show and tell you that your brakes are failing. So, brake fluid. We'll start with something brake fluid. When you we push your brake pedal, you're pushing brake fluid in from your master cylinder out to all four wheels of your brakes. Now you should be checking your brake fluid on a fairly regular basis, looking for leaks. If your brake fluid in your master cylinder is dropping, you've got to find out why. That oil should not be dropping. It can go down a little bit as your brake shoes wear. Your brake fluid will slightly drop a little bit to make up for the wear in the brake shoes. You want to top that up. If your brake fluid gets too low and gets down in your master cylinder, you could lose all your brakes. You'll have nothing when you push the brakes. There's not enough fluid to activate the brakes. So if braking problems are developing, you can spot them coming by checking your brake fluid and looking for leaks. Now, you're not going to fix the brakes here. I'm not going to teach you how to do that today. I'm going to teach you for a very simple person that maybe doesn't understand or doesn't have the confidence to fix their own car or don't have the tools or the space to look after, doing their own repairs. You should at least be checking your brake fluid. It's very, very important. This old girl weighs about 4,000 pounds, and every time I leave the house, I go down a hill and I drop about 1,000 feet in elevation, so I am on my brakes fairly regularly. I'll show you where the master cylinder is. On a new car, or anything after probably, sometime in the later 50s, the master cylinder's up here. You step on the brakes and oil lines and oil brake fluid here goes down to your brakes. On these old cars, this is a 53. I'm not sure when they went and moved the master cylinder, but from 53 back, at least I know, on the Mopar cars, the master cylinder is down under the floor of the driver's seat here. So when you open your car up, I've already moved the carpet out of the way here. You'll see this little plug. Open that up. You see a square down there. This is your master cylinder underneath here. You just put a 3/4 inch wrench on there. Turn that over. Twist it off, Make sure you get the gasket. Keep it clean. Make sure there's no dirt on this before you take it apart. And down in there is your master cylinder, and you can see the brake fluid in there. Keep an eye on that fluid. If that's dropping, you got to look for a leak. You should not be losing brake fluid. It doesn't evaporate, and it's supposed to be in a sealed system. So if that's dropping, top it up, get your brake fluid, add it. Just typical .3 brake fluid. Don't bother with synthetic stuff. I don't anyways. Top that up. Just below the threads of that plug is about your height. And top it up so you know when you step on the brake you've got brake oil, brake fluid there. And look for leaks. So underneath the car, the master cylinder, I could show it to you. Oil comes from the master cylinder and goes to the front brakes and the rear brakes. Now you can look for leaks under the car by looking behind the wheels. Show you here. Now this one has no leaks, but inside of here is a wheel cylinder. There's one up top on the front. There's one on the bottom on the front. There's two. There's one here and one there. If they leak, brake oil will be dripping out here, likely, and dripping down on your rim and on your tire. You'll see it on your garage floor. Look for leaks here. There's a brake line here. There's a hose. It's on the front, but the hose comes down to your brakes here. It's over here. Hose is in this area. Look for leaks on the hoses, brake lines. Under the car here, I'll show you the master cylinder. We were just at it from the inside. This is the back of the master cylinder. The front of the master cylinder is right here. When you step on the brake, you're moving this lever here, and you're pushing it in. The rod there goes in, and you push oil, brake fluid, out this brake line to this distribution block here. Then it goes to your back brakes on this line and to your front brakes on this line here. Look for leaks here, here, any lines that are potentially leaking. At the back, there's more a rubber flex line off this brake line here, and it goes to the axle. Look for leaks along there. Again, look at each wheel. Look to see if maybe there's a leak at each wheel. If you're leaking brake fluid there at any of your lines, watch your fluid. If your fluid's dropping, there's a problem developing. That's very important. .3 brake fluid. I'm going to show you what a wheel cylinder looks like so you can kind of have an idea. I've got a spare one here. This is a double acting rear single. I mean there's one on each rear wheel of my old Mopar car here, my Chrysler. When you step on the brakes, oil comes through a brake line, it goes into there, and it goes inside the cylinder and forces two little pistons out, and your brake shoes are connected on the end here like this. And when you step on the brakes, they open up and they squish against the drum of your car brakes, and that's what stops your car. It transfers the motion of your wheel into heat, and they get really hot. So when you're leaking, it could be leaking here at this line. Make sure this is your bleed valve. Make sure that's tight. This one's just hand tight, but you could have a leak here. Nothing hooks onto this. It just sits there like that. That's when you need to bleed your brakes. I'm not going to get into it today, but this is what you do. You open it up and fluid comes out in bubbles. So your brake line goes in there. Could be leaking there. Look for, if you take your rear drums off, you need a special puller to do it. You may not be comfortable doing that. That's fine, but just look for brake fluid low in your reservoir and potentially dripping out of either a brake line or in the back side of your wheel. What your brake cylinder looks like is this. These are dust boots. Keep the dirt and dust out of the cylinder. Now, inside this cylinder, there's two pistons. Here's one. I can move it by hand. And there's one on this side. Move it by hand. Oops, I popped it out. So that one was in backwards. I just pushed it in. So they go inside. This is clear, empty inside. There's a little hole where the brake fluid goes into. Spring in the middle. The flat surface of each one of these cups or pistons goes against the spring. When you step on the brake, these are forced open by these little rubber seals. Oil gets in behind there and forces them open. If there's a leak here, it's likely going to be this seal has gotten hard and rigid and it doesn't want to flex anymore. It's not sealing. The other thing that can happen, you can get rust and corrosion inside your brakes. In here, this can start to corrode, get rusty, and when it becomes pitted, it will also start to leak. Now, these rubber seals here, they come off. You just get a screwdriver or something and pop them off. The quality of the rubber today, if you buy replacement brake seal parts, it's not as high a quality of rubber as it used to be in the 50s, and the 40s, and the 30s, and so forth. Today, you're getting reproduction parts made overseas in Asia, somewhere probably, Taiwan, China, whatever. And it doesn't last as long. You could buy an aftermarket cylinder for probably $20 or $30, I don't know, whatever they are, $30, it'll be ready to go. But many of them leak not that far after they've been freshly newly installed. So look for NOS kits if you can. If the rubber's high quality and still soft, they're a good solution. Or just keep on top of your brakes on a regular basis, especially after sitting all winter. Here it is back together again. All winter, you come out in the spring, look at those tires, look at the back side of your tires, look at the back behind the wheel, look for brake fluid. And that's telling you that your brake cylinder is leaking. Keep an eye on your master cylinder fluid, like I said. If that's getting low, top it up. If it gets low again fairly soon after, it's time to go see a mechanic or get in there and figure it out yourself. But maybe you want to go into a mechanic if you're not comfortable. Find a trustworthy one in your town and get the brakes looked at because they should not be leaking. So there you go. That's your a few simple checks you can do to keep an eye on your Chrysler brakes. Good luck and be safe out there.